Okay, welcome back, and here we go with the west elevation. Okay, so far I've got our north, our south, and now we're going for our west. Now, before I just revisit my floor plan, I just want to set up my guidelines so that I know that it's going to look nice and even on my page. Over this side, we've used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, gone in about 6 centimeters from the side. So all I'm going to do is grab a guideline and move it 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 centimeters in from the right, just so it's going to stay nice and even. We can move it out a little bit later. Now, the west elevation is going to have the same heights as our north elevation, so I can use my guidelines again. Now, this is up a little bit too high, so I will bring that down a bit. Okay, dragging a horizontal guideline to the very top of the roof. I'm also dragging one to the top of that feature because you will see that peeking out over the back of this. We want to put in the bottom of our bottom story. We want to put in the division of our, like the top of our bottom story, the bottom of our top story. And we can put in the heights of the balconies as well, so they're all consistent. Okay, so I'm just dragging these down to match up with the tops of the balcony. So any horizontal feature, okay, can be guidelined down, which is what we want to do. Just going to get rid of that. Okay, let's just check out our floor plan. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like, but we're looking at this from the west, which is coming in. It is coming in from this section here. So we're looking at this side of the floor plan. So on the 2-point perspective, we'd be looking at the house from this direction. All right. Now, on our bottom story, we have one window for the dining room. On our top story, we have about the same size window. So that window could actually be a full, like, floor to length, floor to ceiling height, double story window, which would look really super cool. On an exterior, there's nothing else on the west side to feature except for the decking, okay, that extends out this way here. All right, now, and the roof. So I don't have a measurement for this on my floor plan because I'm really bad and I'm doing this off the cuff, but let's make the width of that deck 3 meters, okay, which means the width of this part here is going to be 3 as well. All right. The last thing to remember is that the width of our building, we said at the start, was going to be 5 meters, which is 5 centimeters on our floor plan, on our elevation, sorry. Okay, so I don't know why that's turned orange, but let's get rid of that. Just bear with me while I sort that out. Okay, all right, so if I use my rectangle tool, for the bottom story, hold down Alt. Now the width will be 50. The height will be 30. Awesome. We only want to outline. Okay, now I am going to put that nice and flush in this corner. So this is the corner that we dragged out. This is down the bottom of my first story. So it's sitting on that guideline, and it aligns beautifully with the top of my first story with that guideline there. Okay. Now I need to put on the second part of this top story. Now, it's a little bit different because if you go back to my elevation, my 2-point perspective, the top story only comes in halfway, just over halfway, over the bottom. It doesn't go all the way to the front. Now I'm going to use the pen tool to do this because it also has a curve. Okay, I'm going to bring out a guideline. I want that decking at the front to be 2 meters. So the curve for this side is going to go between this corner here and the top of the roof here. So if I use my pen tool, I can start it up here. Let's bring that corner back. Okay. Start it up here I'm going to click and hold to drag out my arms. And this is where you can determine how curvy you want this part of the building to be. Now, I've got this little curve that's not working for me down the bottom. I'm going to hit escape, but I'm also going to go back and click on that anchor point so that I can continue my pathway to make that a full shape. So now I can fill it with color. Okay. Alrighty. Now what we've got is we need our balcony out the front. Okay, now I've already got this, so why not do an old copy, hold down shift. I'll bring in 2 of those pylons. I'm just going to copy that, paste it over here. Now let's use my arrow tool to get these where I want them to be. Okay. Resize the width of my balcony. Obviously she's not going all the way out there. Cool, I've got a balcony. I need to also put in, so I've got the balcony from the back side. I need to put in the roof, the blue roof that curves out, and this bottom balcony decking area. Okay, so that we've said these 2 are going to come out 3 meters. So I'm going to use my pen tool again for the roof section. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, but I am going to, so you can see this, I'm going out 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, but I am coming back about 3 mil and clicking so, and then down 2 because it was 2 mil thick, so I can get that curve in. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I just want that to be a stroke. I will make it blue so it makes sense what it is. And let's make it a bit thicker so that it makes a bit more sense. Cool. Now I think it actually went all the way back to the base of the balcony. Let me just double check. Yes, it did. Okay, so I'm going to go back and move that anchor point. So I can just use my direct selection tool here to move this anchor point to the back section of the balcony. I'm just using my arrow tool to do that. Awesome. Now I can also copy and paste this, the balcony from the front as well. So if I control copy, because they're all the right heights that I need, so I can paste that on here as well. Now what I'm going to do is make sure, oops, I don't want to move that by itself, holding down shift, selecting the ones I want to move. Okay, now I need to make sure that this is flush with the bottom, because remember these posts actually are between the base and the ground. I will bring this guy all the way back in. I'm just using my black arrow key, but you'll notice I haven't gone the full 3 meters. Okay, so this actually needs to come out to align with the roof. So I'll move him out as well. Cool. Balcony's in, roof is in, top balcony is in. What I don't have is the feature behind. Okay, so this feature, this wooden feature out the back will be visible, just the top section. But what I might do is just wait till I've made that on the other one and I can slot that in. Okay, let's zoom out and look at the textures. So for my bottom texture here, I am going to use my eyedropper palette and make that the same. I haven't put my windows in. I need to do that. So there was a kitchen window. And I've already got windows on some of these ones, so I'm just going to copy and paste. Let's do it in color because that looks cool. Copy, paste, beautiful thing, saves me so much work. And now I can determine where I want this window. And I think I want it 2 mil in, 2 mil up. And a really nice kind of floor to ceiling window. The last thing I want to put in is that suggestion of the wood panels. So I am going to take these ones, just selecting a few of them. Doesn't have to be all of them. And I'm pasting those guys on there as well. Just as a nice suggestion of the texture. Okay, I'm going to resize these ones all to the side. And there we go. You can all probably, these two can probably just move over a smidge because they're on the outside of the brown panel, so I don't want that. Awesome, pretty happy with that. A little texture. Now I want to do the same texture for this part. Okay, so for my corrugated iron, I was having a look at this before. I'm not sure if I'm happy with that dark tone. I might want to go for like a lighter grey. It's a little bit more subtle. Yeah, that looks probably a little bit better. I might fix that up a little bit later, but for now, let's just copy some of these. Cool, copy, control. I'm just using Control C. And I'm just going to paste them over here for 1 second. All right, I'm going to zoom out because I do want this to have the same kind of gradient that I've created here. So I'm going to use my eyedropper tool, put that in. That's actually come out really nice. I'm happy with that. And I want to switch these around the opposite direction. So object, transform, reflect, 90 degrees vertical, like we've been doing. Okay, now these should put these on quite neatly. I might even need to make them a little bit lighter so they're visible. I'm going to copy and paste a bit more on top. Cool. Maybe delete a couple. Awesome. Okay. Now this guy I do want. I'm just going to copy and paste it behind. I want it to have a really thick, dark grey stroke because we made that roof 2 mil thick. Okay, now if I go to Object, Arrange, no, it wasn't 2, it was 1. Let me check my other elevation. Okay. Yeah, it's 1. So we want that to be visible on here. Okay, so I'm going to just make sure that that stroke is at a full 1 mil. Make sure that it's the same color as the opposite one. Object, Arrange, Send to Back. Okay, so now what I've got, take the stroke of that one. And I can move this one. It's behind it, so I can sit it, yeah, really nicely. So I've got that roof that's visible here as well. These guys all need to be brought in to the side. If there's a few single ones that you need to just play with, use the white arrow, select the anchor point you want to move, and use your arrow keys just to bump those back in. All right, I think we're good to go. I think that's our west elevation. The only thing we'll need to add is that feature that will pop up on the east elevation. Let's just check it with the north. Okay, so from the top down, I am missing the top section. I don't need the windows. The balcony's in, the roof is in, the side panel and window. Oh, I haven't got my window at the top. Front balcony and the terrain. Okay, so this side of the hill is actually quite high on the west side. So if I use my guidelines, just brought down a guideline from the top, and I'm putting that with the top of the terrain that I can see here. I'm going to use my pen tool and a black stroke that's at 1 mil. Okay, because there is a bit of terrain. Oops, that doesn't go that way. I'm going to delete that and start again because it wasn't very good. Okay, so this terrain comes kind of up and it meets around about here. So I am going to bring it slightly up until it hits that guideline. Hit escape. Now I want to use my white arrow tool just to bring some of these down a smudge so it looks a bit more realistic. Okay, that's looking good. Now it's really important here. I'm going to increase the stroke so I can see it, and I am going to add a white fill, and that's going to show me all the land that's in front of that elevation, which is what I want to see. If you want to see what's under it, you can always use your opacity tool just to tone that down a little bit so you can see through it, like so. All right, I am missing a window up the top. Let's just go back to the top bedroom here. Okay, and I need to use my pen tool to do that because it has curve in it. All right, so let's zoom in. Okay, pen tool. And it doesn't quite go. It only goes about halfway, doesn't it? Yeah, cool. All right. Hold down shift to get a nice straight line. And go back to our anchor point. That actually emphasizes that curve. I really like that. That's cool. All right, I want it to be a window like this one. Eyedropper tool. There we go. If you want the frame a little bit lighter, it's picked up the stroke of that bottom one. Okay, you can decrease that. I think that would be a good move. If there's anything you're not happy with, you can always use your direct selection tool to select an anchor point and really mess around with the curves that you create so you don't have to redo them from scratch all of the time. Cool. I think that's my west elevation done and dusted. The next video will be our final east elevation.